Welcome back to the GSL Code A. We had already a very quick Protoss versus Protoss series in which Panic was able to defeat Hurricane 2-0. And now we're going into RorO versus Cure, two Castle players battling it out. And it's really hard to say if Cure is going to be able to get out of this group, because even though he's a strong Terran player, I feel like both Hurricane and Panic can defeat him, and RorO, I think, absolutely will defeat him here.
It just also looks a little bit like we have a bit of a Terran curse going on currently.
True.
At least most Terran players having a really tough time. Of course, later down today we are going to have two Terran players that are definitely strong enough to get into Code S with Young and also Fantasy. Then next week we have players like Innovations. There's still a lot of potential for Terran players making it, but so far they had a really tough time. RorO here is, of course, in the studio to win, and we are going to find out if he can take his first series already. And this is the one against the Terran player from Jin Green Wing, so for Cure, definitely not an easy feat. But Daedalus Point is also the first map, which is going to make things a little bit more difficult for Cure.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to have a wall that's extendibly like back to his ramp from his command center. He can't have a tight wall at the top of his secondary ramp because it's just too wide.
We're jumping into game number 1, ladies and gentlemen, on Daedalus Point, RorO versus Cure, GSL Code A, brought to you by Cullen Wolf.
RorO versus Cure.
Starting to the top for Samsung Khan, we have the Zerg player. It is RorO in red. Samsung Galaxy, I should say.
Yep, and here down in the blue, it's Cure. Rush for Jin Green Wings. Formerly a KT Rolster player, I believe. And Jin Green Wings making a lot of roster changes recently, picking up some really good players. See how well Cure can do. And if he goes right into Code S, that's a great start.
I'm pretty excited to see what not only RorO is going to do, but we have also a couple of additional Samsung Galaxy players playing pretty soon, especially Solar. This is one of the players that I'm personally very excited about because he is playing so many online tournaments. He's really someone trying to put his name out there, speaks decent English, and is always trying to talk to people and interact with his fans on Twitter as well, which is a bit of a novelty in Korea. There are very few Koreans that really do that to this extent. And I want to see how all those guys are doing. Samsung Khan, in my opinion, or Samsung Galaxy, still stuck with the old name here. Still a great team here, and they're doing an amazing job. But on the other hand, with Jin Green Wings, we have Cure now in a potential situation where he can cause the downfall of RorO, or at least start it. He has a 52% win ratio on the matchup, Cure that is, and has recent wins against the WCS Korea qualifier, where he defeated a Zerg player with 2-0 against S2. He was able to win in Pro League. And RorO, on the other hand, against Terran, has a pretty nice track record, defeating most of his recent opponents, actually. So it's not going to be easy for Cure at all to make something happen here. The Zerg player is definitely a veteran, not only in the matchup, but he's a former champion as well, so he has the experience. But only a 42% win ratio in general in the matchup. A bit of a better stride lately, but historically speaking, it's one of the matchups where he struggles a little bit.
Look at this. Cure is actually denying the drone from taking his gas, which is really interesting because the drone wants to take it to survive, perhaps. But I don't think that Cure actually wants his own second gas. I don't think he cares about that. But this is something that RorO now has to think about, thinking, okay, are you actually taking a second gas, or you just don't want me to keep my drone alive and annoy you because you're going to want that second gas later. So let's send this Overlord over here, first of all, to see if there's a command center or not. But he might actually poke over and see if that second gas is taken. Wouldn't be surprised to see him do that.
I don't think he's too worried about it, because he saw the Reaper already, so that's the first thing where Cure invested gas, and if you see that Reaper, you're usually fairly sure what's going on when you see then also a command center being dropped. So there's not really a lot of wiggle room for Cure to go, like, say, into Cloak Banshees.
Yeah, it would be a weird transition.
So that would be a very weird build that wouldn't completely streamline, so I don't think he's too worried about that. He sees the Reapers, he knows already what's happening. The second Reaper will also arrive, and then he is absolutely sure what's happening here, especially with the vision that the Overlord got at the bottom right.
Second Reaper already popping in here, and will be repelled by that Queen, but he's actually doing a decent amount of harassment here. And of course the Overlord now verifies the second gas hasn't been taken, so he knows 100%. There's a third command center going up, and this is starting to look really similar to the build we saw from Bravo yesterday.
Good location as well, just putting it in the position where the Overlord has a very tough time to scout what's happening, and as soon as we have another Marine in the game, it should be a little bit impossible for him to fly in there without dying first. On the other hand, for RorO, of course, the Speedling upgrade is coming out quite fast. On a map like Daedalus, you want to have those in the game as fast as possible so that he can put on some pressure and make sure that it's pretty tough for the Terran player to take a third. That he has to really fight against your Speedlings there. And it helps a lot against the Hellions that you always expect if your opponent is starting things off with Double Reaper.
Yep. There's that tech lab on the barracks. And what is this SCV going to do? Just going to transfer the natural, that's what it turns out to be. He wants to start that wall right away so he can connect the area next to his secondary ramp to his command center. He actually makes a bunker on the high ground first, because connecting the wall before that is going to be virtually impossible. And Marine production does continue here. He has a group of Hellions that he's keeping in his main base for a little while. Wants to wait until he has a few more out before he starts moving across the map, and he's going to have those Reapers to bolster it as well. There's the stim coming out, so not going to be seeing mech from him, and it would be crazy to see mech on this map, but...
One of the things that we do not see RorO do, which a lot of Zerg players in this matchup are currently doing in the game, is either get extra queens or the Roach run a little bit quicker so that you have something against the Hellions. RorO is doing neither of that. He's just going straight into the Speedlings and is absolutely confident in his ability to keep those Reapers at bay, and of course also the Hellions themselves. No extra queens to defend here or for the creep spread, and also no Roach run. You just get a couple of Roaches here that can deal with the Hellions. So he's very... Yeah, he's skipping all of that, and he's really confident in his abilities to pull it off.
Zerling gets in the main base, but only his corpse.
No, there's actually an extra queen, but a little bit later than we usually see it. A fourth queen with 3 queens. He has currently 1 queen per hatch, and as long as the third hatch is not completed, he's of course using it to just get a couple of active creep fantomas into the game.
Well, he's with only 3 queens right now, gonna have a little bit of trouble keeping his creep pushing across over to that third base. Let's see how much Cure actually wants to commit to the pressure. He scouts the double E-bays, or evolution chambers going up now at the ramp. He's gonna come over here and start poking a little bit at these queens, knowing there's only a few of them. He's gonna be able to deny tumors that are nearby. Goes for the queens instead. The Zerling is just trying to help out until there are additional queens, and 2 drones will go down. Well, yeah.
Alright, here we go. Now he's adding the queens, and it's already a little bit late because so far he was able to deny mining at that third base. And he needs those extra queens, especially on the map like Daedalus. I was a little bit disappointed or just surprised to not see them, because the same problem that a Terran and a Protoss player have with a wall is true for a Zerg. As a Zerg, you really try to get the wall off at your natural against the Terran player because you're always afraid that Hellions might just run by. And with the extra queens, we have just something that helps you block, and that also is very good for dealing damage against the Hellions when they try to sneak into the mineral line. With only 3, you can do very little, because you usually want to have one of the queens always in the main base for the inject. Now he is investing into a lot of more queens. He has 7 in total, and that helps him to really make sure that those Hellions don't sneak in.
Yeah, the Hellions actually didn't do a lot of damage in general. They were scary. They did kill a few drones, but the creep is now fully connected. And he's also got the creep straight towards the main base, or rather towards the middle of the map. Main base is actually not connected by creep. That's something he will work on a little bit later. He's actually very far ahead in upgrades, RorO that is, because even though Kier got his double E-base up pretty fast, he was so concerned about microing his Hellions and multitasking over there that he actually didn't start his upgrades right away.
For Kier, it must have been a little bit tempting to try to run into the main base with the Hellions, and if he would have done it, I think he could have done a massive amount of damage. There were only 10 Zerglings, which he of course didn't know, which is one of the main reasons why he didn't commit to it, because he didn't want to lose those Hellions in a bad trade, since they also represent his position on the map and his defense at the third base. But if he would have committed, I think with only 3 queens at the point in time, he could have done a massive amount of damage, and it must have been tempting for him. But he just said, alright, I'm not gonna fall for that. Maybe you have units up that ramp, maybe you have something there and you're gonna surround my Hellions and I'm gonna die to it without killing too much. So I'm gonna just wait a little bit. I have a safe third base, and then I can push out with the Marine Hellion, try to keep your creep spread low, and also try to snipe a couple of your queens.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're gonna see here. He's gonna move onto the creep right now. We're gonna see a scan here. We'll eliminate a lot of these active tumors, and then if there's too many Zerlings for him to handle, he can just lift up some of his units here. It's the Banelings really that he's worried about, and he's actually trying to come over here and force a few cancels on them. I think this is a bit overzealous though. The Lings come from behind, try to trap him here, and Banelings for Hellions, not the best trade, but it works out okay for him. He's just continuing to tread that creep, but that was an interesting way to engage that.
Well, he picks off and moves back, and he sacrifices the Hellions in this encounter, but he has the 1-1 upgrades nearly completed. +2/+2 will be started soon, and for him it's really just getting that +3/+3 out while being safe on 3 bases. This is one of those games where you have really the Zerg player just trying to take the complete map control and getting ahead in economy, and then trying to really make that mid-game work with Ling Meter Baneling. But for Cure, it's one of the things that he really wants to do is get rid of the banelings while keeping his Marines safe.
Yep. He actually has a Widowmine here, and it doesn't really get a nice shot off on the other hand, and he trades decently against his Zerlings. Without the Hellions to help out against Speedlings, he has to be really careful to not get surrounded, and he always has to have those medevacs there. Before the mutas are ready, though, he can keep poking like this, and 9 Queens is going to help him target those medevacs down, especially if he's got 4 up here at the front, but until mutas are out, he can always just keep bouncing into the medevacs and flying away.
The last engagement wasn't too bad for Cure. I actually liked that. He picked up all the Marines and went back. He killed a lot of the banelings, and you force your opponent to build additional banelings, and that it means invest gas, which you really want to use for other things. So one of the reasons why we are seeing 9 Queens, I feel, is that in the late game, RorO is already toying around with the idea of committing to a transition into Ultralisks. He doesn't have an infestation pit built just yet, but that's something that we will see later on the road. And with 9 Queens and an aggressive creep on the map, you can really keep those Ultralisks alive for a very long time. And they're great versus Bio, especially if you had the occasional Infester.
Yep, this is true. A few banelings do connect here. Widowmine also going down. Trades against a decent amount of Zerlings. The split here is good, but he could have actually just gotten up and gotten away. It looks like with these Marauders, though, he wants to actually finish the fight. Meanwhile, Medevac Force going into the main base did chase those Mutalisks away earlier. Another Mutalist going down here. And Cure, constant aggression here, keeping RorO on the defense.
I like his moves here. I really like how he approaches this. He's sniping now the Mutalists. He has another drop in the main base that is distracting the Zerg player. More Mutalists are coming in. There are not a lot of Marines left, but as long as he saves all of those Medivacs and the rest of the units, it's going to be fine. Reinforcements moving in, trying to pick off the, well, 1 or 2 stray Mutalists here. Still in the main base, very active. Widowmine hit also doing work. And currently, RorO is starting to fall behind a little bit. We have Cure with a massive aggression on 3 bases and trying to push the Zerg player back.
Yep, this is a good opportunity for him to chase and eliminate some of these medevacs with the reinforcements here. There's not a ton of Marines, mostly Marauders, but of course now that he has a few more reinforcements, the Mutalists can't chase anymore. Cure takes a supply lead. Army-wise, he's way ahead. Upgrades relatively even for these 2 players. RorO actually just finishing his a little bit faster. There's a small window where he's ahead.
That was actually a big deal in the last fight, because we had 2-2 upgrades for RorO, whereas Cure was fighting on 1-1. And without that upgrade lead, I think things would have gone very badly for RorO there. Cure already had a lot of pressure. He killed a lot of the Mutalists, but if he had the same amount of upgrades, I think that RorO would have probably taken a severe losses in the last fight.
Definitely a strong possibility. +2 armor nearly complete here for Cure. Now they're going to fight on even upgrades. They're going to fight on even terms in that sense. And he's got so many Marauders in his army that it's difficult for the Banelings to actually get the connects they want on those Marines, especially with the good splitting we've seen from Cure. I don't think he's going to commit to this attack anymore because he doesn't really have to. He's already on 3 bases himself, plus the 4th that he's taken to the bottom left. And this is a bunch of Banelings for 2 SCVs and a sensor turret. Not the best trade there.
It wasn't really worth it, but he should rebuild that sensor tower just to make sure that he knows when those Mutalists are moving in.
Yeah.
With 2 missile turrets, that's not enough. He needs to have a bit of a task force over there, or that planetary will eventually go down, but he's just trying to trade base for base and goes in with a few Mutalists, with a few Marines. The Marines take those Mutalists apart. He didn't see. He was busy defending his base at the left side, and he lost quite a few Mutalists because of it. He lost 6 in that encounter without really killing anything.
Plus, all these Banelings were connected with mostly Marauders over here, and they may do the same thing yet again here. The Marauders always at the front here from Cure. He pulls his Marines back in a different control group, and now he's trading so well against the Banelings. He will be pushed back here, but it was a good trade for him. He'd like to get up and boost away with some of these medevacs. Here comes the next wave, though.
The next wave is going to do a whole lot of damage, and the medevacs, most of them survive. He's killing off a few, but now it's just more Zerglings, Zerglings, and Zerglings, and this is starting to get a little bit scary for RorO. 4 bases for a Terran player that is starting to push in and really put you in a very defensive position. That's not what you want if you play Ling Muta Baneling. You want to be the aggressor. You want to be the one who darts around the map with the Mutalist, tries to look for an opportunity, and pressures the Terran player. Because the mid game is supposed to be the part where you are strong.
Yeah.
But right now we have Cure not starting his 3-3 upgrades, and that's the only thing that I don't really like about how he's approaching this. His unit control and everything else is absolutely stellar, I feel, but his 3-3 upgrades are so important that he should really prioritize those.
Yeah, he should cut some production for a second and get those out, because he doesn't have the minerals right now, but if he stops 2 Marauders for just a second and get those out and go for the longer investment there.
He has
I think
the gas.
He just did do it, but
I mean, he has a massive bank in gas, and we still don't see 3-3.
Yeah, he didn't actually start it.
It's very surprising to me, to be quite frank. That's something that nearly every Terran player rushes out against Ling Muta Baneling. And if you look what RorO is currently doing with the Infestation Pit, even if the Terran player starts his 3-3 right now, and there's the +3 attack upgrade, the timing window that he will have is just shrinking.
Yeah, it's definitely true. As a Terran player, you always want to have that upgrade lead as long as possible because it's so hard for a Zerg to get 3-3. It takes you time to get the Visation Bit and the Hive, and then the upgrades are expensive.
Maybe he forgot.
And maybe he did, or maybe he was so busy multitasking with his army because he's constantly being aggressive with this. He has 2 center towers up now, and he's going to see this army coming over here. He already realized where it was coming from. This planetary is toast if the Banelings want to trade for it, but if he trades the Banelings here, is it going to be worth it? Because then he's going to lose so much of his army that this army is...
worth it.
I don't think it was either, but the split here...
Oh my god, that was great! Cure really, really impressing there. Yes, he's losing a fair share of units, and of course, that planetary goes down, but that was a massive amount of Banelings that RorO just used to take down not only the planetary, but then also roll into the army. And I feel he lost too much there. I don't think that this trade was really worth it for him.
Well, let's find out how much Cure can do with the counterattack. There's still 26 Banelings on the map, and you know, I think it might have actually worked out. There's not enough Marines here, and so he can actually pressure with his Bioforce. He has 23 Marines on the map, but they're not with this army, so he's losing a lot of Hellbats. And even though, you know, on the surface it looks like that wasn't worth it, this second wave of units that RorO already had prepared, the rest of the Banelings he had, and this constant aggression of the Mutalisk because he knows the Marines were eliminated, is going to allow him to cancel this base, and he's going to get into the main base now, or at least go to the natural.
The Hive Tech is nearly completed. The +3/+3 is halfway done. Only 1 missile turret. And that's one of the things where Cure could really play a little bit safer with the resources that he had. Just getting more additional missile turrets in the game. Something that we saw Bravo do yesterday, which really helped him a lot against these harassers. Because what currently happens here is that Cure started to lose the momentum that he had and allowed RorO to be aggressive on his own. And now it completely shifts. RorO is starting to be the one who dictates the pace of the game and who also initiates the attacks. And that's why Cure is falling a little bit behind. He suddenly has to react. He's not the one who activates or who like goes into the fights. He's the one who always has to try to run where the Zerg player is and where the Zerg is trying to attack.
Yep. It's basically RorO is controlling the flow here. He's going to trade a bunch of Banelings for an orbital. That is almost never the right choice, because if he just lifted that a little bit faster, then he would have traded most of his Banelings and then still not gotten it. He's going to try to force a cancel here. Again, a small group of Mutalisks, or rather a small group of Marines, chases those Mutas away. He does delay this command center, which is really, really important for Cure to resecure, especially considering he lost his 3rd base. And really, Cure is starting to fall apart here because RorO is just attacking and bouncing between these bases. He has always enough larvae, always hitting his injects. He has so many hatcheries that his Ling force is always enough to shut down the drops, and then his Mutalisk force is going for counterattacks, and he's never able to get his turrets up. His economy is so low right now that he can barely even afford turrets while he's trying to get the rest of his units out.
For him, it was definitely... His playstyle was to keep RorO in check and keep him just passive, and now RorO is turning things completely around. The earlier game was really great for Cure, but delaying his own 3-3 was a bit of a mistake here. Maybe he didn't see it, maybe he tried and hit the wrong hotkey. Whatever happened, this big window that he usually will have as a Terran player is not there anymore. And he is now on 3-3, but RorO is already on his way to get the own upgrades.
Yeah, on top of that, I mean, this window that he has right now is so small, but he doesn't even have an army that he can contest with RorO's. Even with the upgrades, RorO's army is just better, and he's just controlling the map with it. Again, he's got Mutas over here. He's going to catch this army, kill it. He loses 1 Muta, basically, maybe 2, not even. And here comes the attack, again, at the 4th base. It's not even a planetary yet. SCVs are vulnerable here, and he forces the cancel. And, I mean, not the best Baneling trades there, but still, he's eliminating mining. And he's coming here into the main base, maybe able to get that reactor for the starport. That would be huge.
He just goes for the production and takes down whatever he can. And with the reactor killed, this means that, of course, the medevac production is now significantly lower, and it looks really, really bad for Cure. At the beginning, he started to dominate this game a little bit and had a very good showing, but now it is RorO's game to lose. He's playing a great game. He is taking base after base, and he trades well with his opponent now, is always there. He has to be attacking at 2 places at the same time, forcing Cure in a very awkward spot. And once those upgrades at the top of the production tab are done, I do not see Cure coming back in this game, because we have 3-3, we have Adrenal Glands then, and he's just on 3 bases. He can never get this fourth once again. RorO just trades Banelings against this CC.
And he's already got the Banelings remade too, so it's never like Cure can be going for a counterattack during this to go and catch him off guard, because he's always instantly making the Banelings. And there's the GG.
GG endgame. RorO having a few difficulties in the beginning of the match with the aggression that we saw from Cure, probably something that he didn't even expect to this extent. But his upgrade lead that he had won him not only 1 fight, and then Cure delaying his own 3-3 upgrades a little bit and starting to play more passive. Fell off. RorO taking charge of the game and winning map number 1 here on Daedalus Point.
A few things could have been done better for Cure, like just better map awareness, being able to stop those Banelings from running in and killing his base so many times. More turrets, definitely something he could have invested in earlier, and also getting that 3-3 a little bit faster. There were a few engagements where he got a little bit too aggressive as well, and RorO punished him for losing too many Marines and having the viewless control there to fight against his Marauders and also the medevacs. And
one of the big points was really when they were fighting at the 4th base of RorO, and RorO completed 2-2 upgrades, and we had Cure on 1-1. With both of them on 2-2, or maybe even the Terran player starting his upgrades faster and having the lead in the upgrades there, this fight can end in his favor, and then he might even be able to snipe that 4th. So that was one of the, I feel, most crucial battles that we saw there. And Cure did a lot of damage, but I feel with a better upgrade count, he could have won that fight significantly and put RorO into a very, very difficult position.
Yeah, definitely true. Let's find out if RorO is going to seal the deal 2-0 here, or if Cure can go into that early game, get that momentum, and tie up the series 1-1 here at the GSL Code A with Calvin Bolt.